How are you?
Good, yourself?
All right. Doing great. Really feel like we got better as a football team today. It was a long day, but I think we all have learned over the years, learned last year in particular, getting really what we saw as three starters in Trent Taylor, who played in our sub package, George Kittle, uh, and Adrian Colbert, and you get guys who start and play for your team. You have the opportunity to do that. And so, we take every one of these picks seriously. We're proud of what we did today. Going down the line, Kentavious is a guy that, in these deals, you think both short-term and you think long-term. And you look at your entire roster. One of the areas that we kind of came into this draft with was the idea of a big end who plays over the tight end and a three technique, that kind of versatility and getting a little bigger. And he's a guy who provides that for us. He's a guy, again, not a projection because we've seen him play both spots and play both spots really well. Did a lot of research on him. We really had him as if you took away the injury, a third-round rated guy for us. And so when he was there, we felt like that was the best pick. DJ Reed's a guy we're extremely excited about. We talk a lot about profiles and, not the profile fit in terms of his height. Interesting thing about him, he's about 5'9.5", but he's got 32-inch arms, so he kind of makes up for that. So while he can play some nickel and free safety, we also think he can hold up outside corner. He's done that at K-State, and another great punt returner. We got a lot of those, and that's a good thing. Marcel Harris is he's a thumper at the safety position. The guy that has a presence on the field, has great tracking angles back there, makes his presence felt, coming off an Achilles injury, but we feel is on pace to be ready for training camp. Julian Taylor, another guy who adds size, hard in the later rounds to find bigger defensive linemen that can play. We feel like we got that in Julian Taylor from Temple, and finished it off with Richie James. This is a guy who we're really fond of as a staff. Played at Middle Tennessee State. Just a fearless player, and has a lot of will that shows up on tape, has a little swagger to him, and really happy to have all those guys a part of us. Sorry, guys.
Talk about it. Great picks from last year and how you were able to get them in and get a lot of contributions. How different are you guys this year compared to last year, where there's not as much need to plug in and play guys right away as there was last year?
Yeah, I think last year Kyle and I kind of looked at it as almost not a blank canvas, because we had some spots, but we were putting people in that we knew were going to have a great opportunity to play right away. I think we still felt like coming into this year there's pieces to be added to the puzzle, but it's going to be certainly more competitive, and that's what you want on your team. You want competition in every position. You also have to fill numbers at each position, both in the short and long term, and we feel like really happy with where we came out in terms of that with this year's draft.
Strong safety, and Kowalski is your starter there.
Physical games looked good last year.
Right.
Where is he with ACL, and is Harris? You're looking at Harris at that position.
Yeah, Chancellor is doing very well in his rehab, but again is kind of on pace for that training camp. Chancellor's a guy you got to pull the reins on, because he wants to go all the time. We were very impressed with him, but we kind of had slots open at safety. Wanted to fill some there. We felt like Marcel Harris was a guy who kind of fits what we want out of that strong safety position really good. And safeties, if you're not a starter, you better be a really good special teams player. He's a great one.
You draft a player who is rehabbing from a torn ACL, your fans go into orbit. That has not gone well.
Yeah.
Could you allay their fears as far as, I'm not sure, just because of the history here, that was the most popular pick?
Well, I think we're aware of that. We're not trying to make popular picks. We're trying to make good picks. And we were very convicted that this was just that. And so we care about our fans. We love their input. We love their passion. We may have been told that, hey, about that history. Sure, about it. But, we can't let that affect us. We came in with our philosophies, and we got to stick true to those We aren't looking for guys like that, but when you find a guy you really like, sometimes you got to be patient, and we're willing to be patient if it's worth it, and we feel like it's worth it in this case.
And I'll say on that too, that is hard. It's hard for fans. It's hard for John. It's hard for coaches. I mean, you want to improve right away, and so usually you can come up with a better decision or talk yourself into something else when you get to that spot. I think that shows how we felt about the player. You are trying to talk yourself into other spots because you want to add it to now. We get excited just like everyone else does. But he was the best choice, and everyone has scars from their past, but I've only been on one team who's done that. We did that once, and we did it in Washington our last year there, and it was with Chris Thompson. And he was the guy we wanted in the second round, but he tore his ACLs his last year, and we got him in the fourth. And I think that worked out. It didn't work out for us. We drafted him for other people. But I thought that was a good decision. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we feel very happy that we got a real good player.
What's your vision for Richie James?
To bring him in and compete with everyone. He has the capability of doing a number of things. We'll probably start him out at X because of his speed and his size. I think he could play inside for us too. He has the speed to run some of the similar routes that start with Marquise and to give us some other options behind him. He can run and he plays physical, which we think that he can relate to special teams that way also, which gives him a chance to make the team. You guys talking about the difference between this year and last year. It's hard. It was much harder this year to pick guys on the second day that we felt had a chance to make our team. So it wasn't just, hey, plug this guy in here. You got to draft some guys who have some ability and who are good because the competition's a lot harder, and that's something that we want. And he was one of the better players available at the time, and we want some guys who have chances to do it, and he has the ability to be an NFL player, and that's what excited us the most about him.
Following up on that point, just about the competition level being different. I remember last year seeing you after the draft, and you said it's land of opportunity. You got all the undrafted guys in here real quick. What's your pitch to those guys this year? Is it much different?
Yeah, I think those guys are smart. Their agents are too, so everyone looks at rosters and they try to do it on their own. And then you talk to them as coaches and scouts and everybody, and you try to sell it. And it's a lot harder this year than it was last year. They didn't know as many of the names last year. This year, we had a lot of rookies and we had a couple fifth-round guys have some success. We had some undrafted guys have some success, which I think excites people because they know we're willing to give those guys opportunities. But now they also see that we have more depth on our roster than we did before. So that's what our guys are working on right now, and we'll see how many we can get. But we're definitely happier that it's going to be a bigger challenge this year.
I'm chuckling. I'm sorry, Dave, but I'm chuckling because last year the land of opportunity got a little out of control. I think we had 85 at our rookie mini camp, our tryout camp. Served us well. We came out with Chancellor James and I think Ronald, was it Larry?
Yeah.
Larry didn't make it, but had some good players there, and I think we'll be a little more tame with that. Pull back the reins a little on our numbers, but still great opportunity for players in the tryout camp.
Sign 8, is that right? Undrafted guys?
No, you can sign whatever you want to fill up your 90-man roster.
Oh, that's right.
And then we can have it.
Roughly.
We can have a tryout camp for whatever, and whatever you like from that. You can take as many as you want until it goes past that 90, and then you got to cut people.
So you'll probably sign fewer than 8, and then keep a couple spots open for guys that impress
You can always adjust your roster later in terms of what you have to do to make that right. So we kind of have a slotted number of guys that will go attempt to get, and you may have to adjust rosters accordingly.
How often would you say throughout these 3 days you caught off guard or surprised by something? And is there maybe an example of something the last 3 days where you guys are going about whatever your strategy is for your upcoming pick, and then something happens and all of a sudden you're either changing course or just, wow, I didn't expect that?
That always happens in the draft. I will say, this year, you go through various exercises. You have a board that has every player in the draft rated. Kyle and I both fill out sheets that have our guys in each round, so we do a number grades. We don't grade by round. There's equivalents, but then we both take it and kind of independently, say, hey, here's where we have the guys we would like at given round, and then we get together, kind of merge them, and I think there's always surprises, specific cases. I think too many of those. But really, for the most part, first, I'd say 3 or 4, those were guys we targeted. We wanted to come out of this draft with, and even beyond that, that's a little more reactive later based upon what's happening with other teams. Early on, it proved out pretty well in terms of what we wanted to accomplish, and I would say throughout, but it does later. You have to have more because, as you get on deeper, there's more variables, so you adjust accordingly.
And then you talked about looking internally, guys you already have to improve along the edges in terms of production and getting after passes. But I think only 2 edge rushers went in the first round, and then a number of guys ended up dropping to today that a lot of people thought would go by yesterday. Was this class different than I think the outside world might have expected, why did you guys elect to not address that position?
Yeah, those guys are difficult to find first and foremost. I mean, we felt like there were a couple guys who had an opportunity to be special there. Just where we were, we didn't have an opportunity or chose not to take them. I think one thing Kyle and I believe strongly in is that there's a lot of pieces right here that if you just look at their history, might give fans and whatnot pause. We believe there's opportunity. Part of this deal, you have to develop your own talent. And so we believe that collectively we've got to get better as a unit. We got to become better finishers. We believe we have that right within were we adverse to adding to it? Not at all. It's just kind of the way the draft fell. We're always looking to get better at every position. But we do believe there's great room for growth with the guys we have, and that's got to come alive. And that's a challenge to them. It's a challenge to our coaches. It's a challenge to all of us. That's what this game's all about.
I also think one thing people don't take into account, we talk about pass rush, and there's 9 D linemen allowed on a roster, and there's 8 D linemen up on game day. And look at all our D linemen. We have some pretty good players. Yeah, we'd love to add whoever the best pass rusher is on the outside in the draft. We'd love to get a Von Miller, but you only get 8 up on game day, and you only get 9 on a roster. So when you just keep drafting rushers, I mean, you got to be pretty good to beat out Marsh. You got to be pretty good to beat out Armstead. You don't just get guys if you get them, someone else has got to get cut. And we got a pretty good group. We're going to look to improve at every position all the time, but people don't realize that it's not just, you don't just stockpile people and, hey, we got 20 pass rushers, let's see which one turns up. You only get a few, and in order to bring one in, who are they replacing? And we don't have guys that are just easy to replace. We got a bunch of good players, and again, it's a good problem, but we'll always look for better, but that's not an easy thing to do.
Speaking of Armstead, have you made a decision about if you're out or Lakeland?
We're deep into those decisions. We're going to finalize that. We're going to kind of let the draft play out here today, and then I'm sure we'll be talking to you guys soon.
Taylor, I noticed there's a couple plays on his film where he did very well against Notre Dame. I'm wondering if you noticed him while you were watching McGlinchey's film.
That happens a lot. There's guys that you always do. We did take note of that game because you're playing against real good competition. I would say with him, you saw, you get later in the rounds. I talked about one of the stated goals to get a little bigger when we could on the D line at those big end 3 technique positions. And he's a guy who gives you that, but also ran, I believe, a 4.89, so can move for a big boy. And has some suddenness to him. So he was a guy we liked for that. But you always take notice of that, and that happens a lot. We'll be studying someone, and somebody else keeps popping up, and that's oftentimes how you discover guys.
Couple more?
The size and speed, and kind of the profile there. We're picking in the 7th round, and so not many players of his size and his abilities at that point. So, we like that about Julian, and we didn't hesitate to make him a Niner. And,
You guys think about during the year, we talked about tackles at the Philly game, and people are playing all of a sudden, and we went through a time with D linemen, which we had some depth last year, but there's a time where we have Deuce who just came off the street, and he's our leading playtime guy, and he's playing inside, doing a ton, and he was valuable because he could play inside, he could play outside. We got him week 5, whatever it was, and he did a heck of a job for us. And you have to stockpile those type of guys. Again, only a certain amount you can have on your team, but when you can find those type of bodies and you can get them where we did, it's might not always jump off to you guys oh, he's slotted right here, he's slotted here, but it's depth. It helps you in emergencies also, and there's a huge upside where you got a chance with the speed he talks about combined with that size, so that hopefully you can get more and develop that and even get something bigger than that.
It's the idea to be able to bring guys up off the practice squad rather than the street, and you need a guy like that.
Definitely, and the best way to get guys on your practice squad too is to draft them, and you hope they make it. The problem is you try to go out to the practice squad, and that means any other team in the league can steal them. So that's why it's hard to keep really good guys on your practice squad, because if it's not a secret, someone else is going to take them. So then sometimes you try to keep guys who aren't quite ready, but you know other people will steal them. So now out of your 9 D linemen that you're allowed to carry, only 7 of them are really ready to play, but you're not willing to lose those 2 guys who you know are almost a year away. And so you have to balance that out, and it's a trickle-down effect for your whole roster. If you could get us a minor league team, that would help, or we could stash them. But those are kind of the things with the makeup and 53, and that's why it's not always as simple as, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? It's how do you tie it all together, how do you build a team?
You know, and I would just add to that, it's one of the harsh realities of this league. It's you're always competing for your job, and so when we're bringing guys in, we're not just doing it blindly. Okay, pick him. We're saying, all right, does this guy have a realistic shot, at least a shot of making the team, and is he going to push our guys to be better or rise to the top? So you're looking for those things, and so a guy like that, he's got some qualities that we like, that think he's got a shot, and
Well,
so.
Well, it wasn't as fun today, but it was a lot. It showed a big difference between now and last year. Is just coming in this morning and looking at what we have on a 53, not a 90, and looking at what you have up on game day and going through the depth chart of everything and before the draft starts and seeing our board on who's available. It's okay, regardless of how good they are, who has a chance to make this team? Where are the slots that are open, and there wasn't as many people as there was last year, and there weren't as many positions. So it makes the draft harder, but that's the goal. You want it to get harder and harder each year, and hopefully that's how you develop depth, and that's how sometimes you don't always need to use them all.
So like yesterday, I mean, Trent Taylor played well as a rookie. Good return man, good slot receiver. I mean, it's pretty clear to look at Dante Pettis and go, well, he takes Trent Taylor's job. So, you know, how should Trent Taylor interpret the decision to draft Dante Pettis where he did?
Well, I think he's another piece to the puzzle. Trent Taylor's got a skill that works very well on our team, particularly with Jimmy and his ability to throw accurately. And CJ, we feel the same way about. Really put it on someone in third down. He's tough to cover. Someone's going to go man to man. You know, good luck holding up one-on-one. You know, and so that's what we want to do: as many matchups as possible. Pettis is different, as Kyle explained, I think real well yesterday. He can line up all over and be a punt returner. And so, you know, short term, he'll play a little bit of everything. He'll also have a great shot at being our punt returner. We may have Trent back there some. We may have DJ Reed back there. We got a bunch of them, like I said. But there's you know, like I said, with these guys, if we're picking them, yes, it's competition, but we believe there's enough balls to go around for all these guys.
I also think it's, you know, people like Trent understand that too. It's this is a tough league. It's extremely hard. I think that's why guys get paid pretty well, and I think they more than deserve it. It is hard to make it in this league. You don't know what your future is year to year, week to week, and Trent has a great role for us. We're bringing in Pettis because he can have a good role for us too. But the one thing, everyone talks about roles and how we use guys, and we have an idea of how we want to, but guys' role is up to the player. I mean, they got to show us what they can do. We believe they can do it, and we'll coach them what they can do, but they have to earn that role. No one's just given a role and you don't mess with that role. We got to get the best in everything. We owe that to the organization. We owe that to the defense. We got to make the offense the best we can, and the offense has got to owe the defense by how good they can get. So it's everybody. It's what's hard about this business is the challenge, and that's what also why I think the camaraderie of it. It's kind of a special group because you pull for each other, but. That's why it's a tough business too.
There was a report that you guys are going to practice with the Texans in Houston leading up to you confirm that and what the plan is for that?
Yeah,
Confirmed.
Details, not yet. But you and Billy figured that out yet?
Yeah, we're going to practice twice before we play. I think we play on a Saturday.
Yes.
I think we play on a Saturday, so that means we won't play on a Friday. That means we'll walk through on Friday, so I'm sure we'll practice that Thursday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna have rookie camp next week, is that right?
Yes.
What days are those?
Friday and Saturday.
Saturday.
I'm not sure what date it is right now, but
Understood.
I think it's Friday and Saturday. I
Yeah.
think we have the option to do it on Sunday. We usually just do it Friday and Saturday, and we have all our rookies, and then the rest is and the free agents we're signing right now, and then we'll bring a number to try out to see if the tryout guys can upgrade anyone that we have or anyone that's already on a roster.
You have a set number in mind of how many guys you want on the field?
Less than last year.
More than how much?
We did a lot of favors last year, I think. I mean, like this guy was my roommate in college, and his cousin's son is, kind of has a shot of being in the NFL. They were here.
No, you'd like enough. It's about the guys that you have. You always want to find the diamond in the rough, which you don't every year, but sometimes you do. And I mean, Taylor Gabriel was a tryout for us. We didn't even sign him. Like he was a tryout camp guy in Cleveland. I think K1 was too, who is now our nickel. So you can get some good tryout players. I have plenty of years where we didn't sign one, but we'd like to have enough here to where we can run a camp and just have two deep and have some practice. So if you don't find someone, at least you're training the guys that you have.
Similar to Matt asked about the wide receiver position in Pettis, because I mean, you didn't have to have, it wasn't like a desperate need. People would say you have capable right tackle, at least for this year. Was this just because of the whole roster being stronger? Was this a more enjoyable or more complex draft? Did you have to think more in terms of the future when making the picks, more so than you did last year when just like, yeah, we need that position?
Yeah, it's a good question, Eric. I would say perhaps last year was a little more role specific. Hey, we need someone to play the slot. Let's identify these traits. This year we kind of went more to, hey, we want some cornerstone. We want some players that are going to be here for a long time. Still the same type of qualities. What we really stated, Kyle and I sit around a lot and we talk about them, and they just turn out to be words, but it's really what the tape shows. You want tough, dependable, accountable, smart, football IQ, and explosive, dynamic. Those are some of the things we talk about. When I look down this list, the cool thing, I think each one of these guys exemplify that. And so were there tougher decisions? Yes, because I think our roster's better this year. And, that's, I think, one thing that's important. That's not to disparage whoever was here before. When people come in, there's different systems, there's different philosophies, and so you get guys that kind of are, favor your eye, and the guys that last, they've done a pretty good job, because that means they can probably play in any scheme, and they have the type of qualities, the intangibles we look for. We're in year 2 of the process. It should be getting tougher to find a spot on this roster, and we hope it's tougher next year.
When you look at, the work that we've done and why it has gotten tougher, I think, we say this off top hand, but every receiver, every tight end, every running back, every quarterback, I think Selleck is the only one who was here before we got here, I believe. And Raheem. So we made a lot of changes there. Last year going to the draft, it was Bruce and Curley were the 2 receivers. And we signed a number of free agents, and we had to get Trent. There was a few targets in free agency, and these guys, some of those guys were making the team. Bourne made it and didn't have a lot of competition there at some time, and then got ready as the year went. That's a different case this year. What I love, now that the draft's over and we can look back at it all. I was saying these guys last night. I think the coolest thing is, you look at your first 3 picks as usually the big ones each year that say a lot. And I love how our first 3 picks, our first year, were at all 3 levels of our defense. We got Solly as a D lineman, we got Ruben as a linebacker, and we got Akello as a corner. Then this year, I feel all 3 of our picks were at all different levels of our offense, where our first round guy was our right tackle, McGlinchey. Our first second round pick was our quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo.
Good pick.
And our next second round pick was Pettis. So I'd see we have 6 players that are on young contracts that you're going to have for a while, 3 that are spread out through the defense, 3 that are spread out through the offense. And I feel as far as in 2 years, the rest of the roster, we've tried to just build it after that. And we're going to always be competitive as we can be, and always try to do the right thing in free agency. We'll be aggressive in trades when we feel it'll help us. And we'll try to never miss an opportunity to improve our team, whatever it is. And I'm just real happy with the opportunities that we've taken advantage of in the draft, and I think it went very well for us.
So we got the 3 levels offense, defense. That seems pretty cool. Does that symbolize a grand plan, or is that kind of how it felt?
Yeah, but you don't just do it to do it. But like, if you could write it up on how to do it, I would like it to play out that way. I mean, I wouldn't like to say, man, our 6 picks that we've had in the first 2 years are all D linemen, you know, or they're all O linemen. It's like, all right, we're solid here, but man, where are we going to get everyone else? Now we got to go spend free agents on the rest of the team. You know, it's neat to have draft picks invested at 6 different spots to me.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, thanks.